You through what I think is a rather tricky prompt. This prompt is from 2017, and it is a prompt that I'll put the whole thing up on Canvas on the links right under this video, but I'm going to read through some of it and I'm going to talk to you about why it is tricky. So let's first read through the opening rhetorical situation together. You'll see that this is a speech by the same person who did the Woman in Wartime from the example speech or the example essay that you did the other day. So let's read through this right now. The passage below is the opening to a speech made in 1960 by American journalist and politician Clare Boothe Luce to journalists at the Women's National Press Club. In this speech, Luce went on to criticize the tendency of American press to sacrifice journalistic integrity in favor of the perceived public demand for sensationalized stories. Read the passage carefully, then, in a well-developed essay, analyze how, so look how this is emphasized, Luce uses this introduction to prepare her audience for her message. Support your analysis of her rhetoric with specific references to the text. Okay, so the reason why this one is really challenging is because it is written unlike any other rhetorical analysis essay that you've seen so far. The other rhetorical analysis essays that you've seen so far have said something like, analyze the rhetorical strategies the author uses in order to convey the message or in order to develop an argument. This one is completely different in that it's talking about how the introduction prepares the audience for the message. So she uses rhetorical strategies to prepare her audience for the message. Now, you're probably like, what do you mean she's preparing the audience for the message? Well, what you're going to see here is that what you see here is that she's going to criticize the tendency of American press to sacrifice journalistic integrity in favor of sensationalized news stories. So we can relate to this. Oh my goodness, this was in 1960, but in 2020, sensationalized news stories is like the biggest thing in the world. Like clickbait this. Can you believe that this person said this, and then you open up the article and they didn't really say anything at all, like it was not a big deal. It's just new journalism has really died in a lot of ways because they want to make big problems out of little problems in order to sell papers. So she's criticizing the tendency of the American press to sacrifice journalistic integrity, but as you can see, she's talking to the Women's National Press Club. So she's going to criticize the press while talking to the press. This is really something. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, she's going to criticize people to their faces about how they do a bad job. Now, I want you to think right now, like when you have something awful that you need to tell your parents, do you just tell them that straight out? No, you usually prepare them by saying, okay, I want you to know I'm safe, nothing happened, but, and then you tell them what was said or what happened. I flipped the car or whatever it is. And so you prepare people for the message so they don't like just fly off the handle, okay? So what you're going to see here is, we'll read through this a little bit together, is that she's preparing the audience. I'm happy and flattered to be a guest of honor at this always exciting and challenging occasion. But looking over at this audience tonight, I'm less happy than you might think and more challenged than you could know. I stand here at this rostrum invited to throw rocks at you. You have asked me to tell you what's wrong with you, the American press. The subject is not only of great national significance, but also has, one should say, infinite possibilities and infinite perils to the rock thrower. For the banquet speaker who criticizes the weakness and pretensions or exposes the follies and sins of his listeners, even at their invitation, does not generally evoke an enthusiasm, no less a friendly, response. The delicate art of giving an audience hell is always one best left to the Billy Grahams and the Bishop Sheens. Now you're going to see here, you have no idea who those people are, so you're going to look down here where there's this little note, and then there's going to be a note down here that explains it, okay? So we can just stop right there actually, okay? Because it's asking you, how does she use her introduction to prepare the audience for her message? So you're going to see here that her message, and as you continue reading on, her message is, you're not doing enough. You are making your job as journalists, you're not holding true to journalistic integrity. You're failing the public. As journalists, you should be doing more and having greater integrity instead of just selling newspapers. Now, what did she do to prepare her audience for that message? Well, let's look back at what we just read. How many times did she say, "You invited me"? Multiple times, okay? She also said, "I am not here as a willing participant. I was invited to throw rocks at you. So my job right now is to be critical. I'm not going to come up here as a comedian. I'm a politician who was invited to throw rocks at you," okay? And she's also saying, "I know that this is delicate." And I love the word that she said, delicate, okay? Also, so that's one thing she did, so that's a strategy. She reminded the audience that she was invited. Okay? So she uses reminders of her invitation. That would be one strategy that I would say. A next strategy that I would say is that she kept saying that I'm challenged. This is exciting. I'm flattered. So she's saying, like, I'm happy to be here. She's not walking into the situation with like sad news, like, I need to set you down. I'm really sad to report this, but your dog, it just got hit by a car, or whatever it is. She's saying that this is a good occasion, that she's taking it very seriously. And then you'll see, well, we didn't read this paragraph down here, but she does this again. You asked for it. I'm not a volunteer for this subject tonight. She also builds up the journalists. She says, you are an audience of journalists. You're an audience who should be more bored or revolted by a speaker who's trying to butter you up. So here too, she kind of says, hey, you are people of integrity, and I'm not gonna butter this up. I'm not gonna be brown nosing. I'm gonna tell you the truth because you guys are good people. Okay, so she's saying that as well. So there's a lot of strategies right here that she's using. She first talks about how she was asked to be there. She says it multiple times. She talks about how she's honored to be there, and that she's taking this job as a rock thrower very seriously. And then she also talks to them like they are honorable, noble people who are journalists, and they deserve to hear the truth no matter how hard it is. So those are 3 strategies that she used in order to prepare the audience for her message. To be perfectly honest, I don't think that the AP this year will have this hard of a prompt. I think the prompt is going to be a lot easier this year just because of the nature of not having a full year of instruction before the test. But I thought I would just show you a kind of wacky test prompt just so that you're prepared to really read this part closely. Really read this part closely to make sure that you know exactly what you're being asked to do.